Okay, hey everybody. I'm very excited to be doing this interview today. We've got Edgar Hall with us. He is a debt defense attorney here in Washington. He helps me out from time to time. The reason he's here today is to talk a little bit about bankruptcy. That is one area that I do not practice, that Edgar practices, and I get tons of questions from homeowners all the time about kind of how bankruptcy plays into this whole foreclosure defense world. And so we're going to ask him some questions, get him to tell us some of the things he would tell you. If you want to get in contact with him, his information is below this video. You can always reach out to me, reach out to him. We're just kind of here to help and see if we can get some of these questions answered. So welcome, Edgar. Good to see you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. Let's just jump right in here. So biggest question I get is what is the difference between a Chapter 7 bankruptcy and a Chapter 13 bankruptcy? So if you could just tell us a little bit about that.
The short answer is a Chapter 7 is a one-time snapshot that's called a liquidation bankruptcy. You basically throw your assets and debts in a pile, and however it turns out is how it turns out. For most people, it gets rid of a lot of unsecured debt, but it won't do anything to save your house. A 13 is a payment plan, usually 3 to 5 years, and those are designed specifically to save an asset like a house or a car that you want to keep.
Mhm. That's great. And so that leads into the next kind of follow-up question people would ask, which is, so thus a Chapter 13 is one way to defend against foreclosure and save the home. Could you tell us a little bit more about how a Chapter 13 helps somebody save the home? What happens to those payments they owed? Do they pay the bank? Does the payments just go away? Do their arrears get erased? What happens in a Chapter 13?
Good question. What a Chapter 13 does is it stops the foreclosure with the automatic stay. The automatic stay is a provision of the bankruptcy code that says no litigation can occur while the bankruptcy court goes. What you have to do is take the arrears. So if you owe, say, $30,000, you divide that up over the life of the plan. So you might pay an extra $600 a month, but you are allowed to basically amortize it over that period of time. They have no choice but to take the money, even if they don't want to. So if you have a bunch of equity, they're thinking about grabbing and flipping, too bad. You get to pay under federal law.
Great. So, and then that leads to another question we get following that, which is, I'm trying to say this exactly how the people say it to me. Does a mortgage lender get to push back or deny somebody's right to file a bankruptcy, or is that just a right that somebody has to do?
It's if you were to propose like a step payment plan, like let's say you come in and say, look, I'm really broke right now, but I can pay maybe $5 a month for the first year. And maybe you'll get a job, maybe your income will go up. It's so uncertain the court could say no. They typically want even payments so they can see you're on pace to pay it off in that time.
Mhm.
Other than that, unless there's other debts, like maybe child support, alimony, something where you're trying to stiff a creditor that you shouldn't legally or can't legally stiff,
Mhm.
the banks don't have any say really.
Gotcha. So is it kind of safe to say that if you are somebody who are really struggling to pay your mortgage payment, you've fallen
Mhm.
behind, and the household income has not recovered, meaning that original mortgage payment is still
Mhm.
not affordable to you. A Chapter 13 bankruptcy might not do everything to solve that problem because you would still have to be making payments as you go in a Chapter 13. Am I getting that?
Generally, yeah. I mean, you could propose a Chapter 13 to allow you time to sell the house. So let's say you have no job, no ability to pay it. And
Mhm.
we all know that the facts say that. You could just say, hey, court, I'd like 12 months to sell the house, and then we'll distribute the proceeds.
Gotcha. Understood. So when do you have to file a Chapter 13? So
Good question.
let's say you go into default, you miss a couple payments. Are you in a rush to file that? What's the timing on a Chapter 13 filing to save the home?
Technically, as long as you file even 1 minute before the foreclosure, you can save it. Technically, that would be hard. You'd have someone at the auction on the phone ready to say, hey, stop it. Here's the bankruptcy case number. Best practice is at least 24 hours before. But with that said, the longer you wait to file your bankruptcy, the higher the costs are going to be, and therefore the higher you have to make your payments in the plan.
Mhm.
So if I have a client that wants to save the home, we try to file immediately. As soon as we know we can file, right away, even if it's months and months ahead of the foreclosure.
Mhm. I tell that to my clients too, who are not working in a bankruptcy. It's like, if you know what you want to do, just get going on it. That it'll help them feel better. It'll help peace of mind, and it'll just help things go a little bit smoother. As soon as you've decided what you want to do, there's no point in really delaying. Um, so have you ever seen a person in a chapter 13 go through a chapter 13 and do a loan modification while they're doing their chapter
All
13?
the time. That's actually one of my favorite strategies to do, because a lot of times the banks won't work with you because they think they can grab the equity. And so when you finally file that chapter 13, they know it's too bad. Now, a loan mod gives them a chance to grab a little origination fee, make a little money. So a lot of times they will not give you a loan mod before the bankruptcy. And the second you step foot into one, here's your loan mod, particularly in a 13. So we always have that as a strategy.
That's great. That's awesome. What about foreclosure mediation? Have you had somebody go through both foreclosure mediation and a bankruptcy before? Anything like that? Or is that typically?
Absolutely, all the time. The mediation is primarily to see if you can get the loan mod first. And you have the same issues. If they have a way to deny it, they often will try to find that method.
Mhm.
And then the bankruptcy comes the backup, and then oftentimes the modification can come thereafter. So sometimes it takes 3 swings to get your hit.
Gotcha. One of the things I wanted to jump in and say is oftentimes homeowners are a little bit hesitant to uh, jump into a bankruptcy. It feels like a big deal to them. Can you talk a little bit about what somebody's like financial circumstances would look like that would make them a good candidate for going like directly to a bankruptcy and not, oftentimes I tell people, let's try a mod first, let's go to mediation first, let's do a low maintenance option first. But every once in a while I talk to somebody where I'm like, no, you need to go to a bankruptcy. Who are these you need to go to a bankruptcy people, and what do they have going on?
It's pretty, I like to use bankruptcy as the last option. So I may be the worst person to ask, even though I do it. I always say go try a loan mod first, because it's a piece of paper. It's a decision, and it costs you not much.
Yep.
You have no bankruptcy on your record, doesn't impact your credit. It's a great idea.
Yep.
But the situation, see, the facts are almost always the same if you're under the time frame to apply for modification.
Mhm.
So your foreclosures in a week, a day, there's no reasonable way to get that modification offer out.
Mhm.
Those are the ones that I would say need to just jump
So
right in.
timing, it's timing. So,
Mhm.
and the people that I will send over to Edgar are the people who call me. So there's a CFPB guideline out there that says technically banks can deny you if they don't have a complete package 37 days before a foreclosure sale. Oftentimes we can get them through and get them reviewed if it's under that window. But if you're very close to a foreclosure sale and it's not looking like it's going to be something that's going to be able to get a decision back, those people should probably move over to a bankruptcy. And that would be someone I would tell to call you if you're within that week, 2 week, sometimes even 3 week time frame before foreclosure. You just want to make sure you're protected. That might be a good fit for bankruptcy. Those are all of my main questions. That's usually what I get. Is there anything else that you wanted to add? Anything that you hear from homeowners frequently, or anything you just want to say to anyone who's just like, oh, what do I do? Should I consider bankruptcy? What should I do? Anything you want to throw out there for them?
It's always about the equity. If you have a lot of equity, you need to get into a 13 as soon as you can, whether to sell it, whether to amortize it, whatever you're trying to do, if you can't get your loan mod.
Mhm.
If you're upside down at that point, you can surrender it, try a
Short
loan mod
sale,
or
short
after.
sale.
Yeah. So you have some options there. So that's the main thing.
Okay.
Um, yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for your time today and for hopping on here. Again, for
Anytime.
anybody who wants to talk with Edgar, he's awesome. His information is here. You can give me a call. I can patch you to him. You can call him directly. We kind of work in this industry together to just make sure people who need help are getting help. So let us know what you need. Thanks, Edgar.
Anytime. Take care. Bye.
Mhm.